Now, just a minute. I just want to say something for about 1 minute, and then you can...
Sure,
can I
it's all yours, Hap, all yours.
Sure. I want to go back 23 years. It's a long time in our lives. 23 years ago. And I had one of the hardest jobs, I think, to do with those days, to take on after dear old Nicky. And I came into this studio, I don't know whether it's this particular place or not, but we came in here, and we sat down at 11 o'clock, and away we went. And I thought, this is Christmas, will I ever make it? But I had wonderful help from our friend here, Graham, which I'm very grateful. So that went past, and then we kept on going, it was all right. And then about over 3XY was our friend BERT Newton.
That's right.
He was about 17 then, bless him. 17, he was over there at XY in the Princess Theatre. And then I thought, what's going to happen about all this? Then I said to you, you'll get into television and do well. I met BERT when he came across from 7. I met him in the passageway at 9. I said, you'll do well. So I'm very proud, even if I say this myself, to say, Graham and BERT, wonderful. You know, you've really done it.
Oh, thank you, Hap. Thank you.
Now I've said that. Now
that's lovely. That's lovely. Hap, of course, the important thing about yourself is that you really were the first children's program star on television. You had a couple of years at Channel 9, very successful, and then you made a very dramatic switch across to Channel 7. The changes these days are quite accepted. But in those years when you made the switch, it was a very, very dramatic one, and you did the children's program there for how long, Hap?
For about 10 or 11 years. That's how that went, so it was good. And I'm still there, would you mark that?
I know you're still there. I cannot ever forget, BERT, when, very sadly in 1956, Nicky died suddenly. Lewis Bennett, who was the general manager of 3UZ, then called me in and said, we've got to find someone. And certain names were mentioned. There was Norman Swain, Happy Hammond, someone else. I said, Happy Hammond. He said, well, look, it's very difficult for me. Would you ring Happy and tee up a meeting? So I make this clandestine call to Happy. I say, Hap, it's Graham Kennedy, and we've only met once briefly. I wonder if I could see you after work today. Let's meet somewhere. So we chose a corner of somewhere.
East Melbourne.
Yes,
East Melbourne, very quietly.
So both our cars, this very secret meeting, both our cars go up. Hap comes into my car and says, look, mate, I can let you have £50. Hap really thought that I was after a loan.
I thought he was asking for a loan, and I thought, well, I'll help him out. I had some money there to spare, and I thought to myself, well, I'll give him. As a matter of fact, he doesn't know till this day, but I had the £50 in my pocket. And when he started off to say to me, look, we've been talking around at 3UZ, and they want you to come round and take the place of Nicky. And I thought he was joking. I said, me? I said, you must be joking, Graham, because, I wouldn't have the ability to do that because I've only been doing a breakfast program for years, and that's how it worked.
That's right. But Hap was convinced I was after a loan.
That's beautiful. And I think the other beautiful thing is the fact that he was going to give it to you.
No, that's even better. I didn't know that till just this minute.
No. Anyhow, that's that.
Happy, how did you start off in show business?
Show business? Oh, dear. Well, when I was a little boy, I used to be in the Cubs and in the Scouts, and I used to take a little Punch and Judy show around with me, and I used to go and entertain at hospitals and places, and I thought that was wonderful, if I could ever break into show business, but that was as far as I went. But I used to listen to my grandfather, dear old Grandpa Scott, and he used to play a button accordion, which was the thing, and he used to sing, and I thought he was marvellous. So I thought to myself, I wonder if I could ever copy him. So I used to go and watch Jim Gerald years ago in Sydney at the shows, and I used to see Mo and all those people. And
you're from Sydney, Happy?
Yes, from Sydney, yes. So is Reek, yes, we're both from there. And incidentally, Reek lives at Gladesville, used to.
Really?
Near Hunters Hill.
Very close. We could have been neighbours if Reek had been younger.
We could have come over to get some sugar.
Or a cup of money.
That's right. So anyhow, off we start. We went into the army, and from the army, of course, they decided to form entertainment units. And we did a little skit, Keith Glover. You remember Keith? Yes, he was on the ABC. Well, Keith and I, we did a skit on the army. And apparently that was the start of our career there, because someone came to me and said, how would you like to be in the entertainment unit after about 12 months? And I said, oh, I'd like to do that. So we went from there. And then we went and entertained all over the islands and up Darwin and across to Perth and other places like that. Then we came out, and our good friend Jim Davidson was in charge of the entertainment units then. And he said to me, how would you like to be on the Tivoli? I thought, Christmas, Tivoli? I said, yes, all right. So anyhow, we went on the Tivoli, and of course Jim Davison left. David N. Martin was taking over then, or doing things, whatever he was doing, and we worked there for about 2 years or so, and then we went into radio, and from there on. And here we are.
Now, of course, you had the breakfast session on AW, as you mentioned, then you came across and replaced Nicky and worked with Graham, and then you both finished up at Channel 9. And a Butte Buff's question always is, who was the first man to compare in Melbourne Tonight after Graham? Now, today, so many people say me, wrong. It was, quite a few years before I had a chance. Some people say Bob Horsfall. Bob came in for a couple of weeks, but it was you, Hap, wasn't it?
It was.
It was in 1958. Now, you've never heard this story. You know what happened? Norm Spencer called me in the office, bless him, good old Norm, and he said to me, how would you like to do me a big favour? And I said, what's that, Norm? He said, would you compare IMT for 10 weeks? I said, for 10 weeks? I said, what's happening? He said, well, Graham has earned his holiday and he's got to go away. And I said, oh. I was doing the children's program at the time, and I said, well, do you think I could do that? And he said, well, I think you could, but he said, I'm going to England, and he said, I'm going to see if I can get either Tommy Trinder or...
Dick Bentley?
Dick Bentley, that's correct.
I remember that part.
So I said to him, well, I said, you go and get them. I said, you get them for sure. After 3 weeks, Norm came down the passageway, and I looked at him and I said, which one? And he said, you. I said, you're joking. He said, you. I said, oh. I said, all right. All right. So that was it. So I did it for 10 weeks, and it was a real wonderful experience. Everybody was so helpful there, weren't they, Graham?
Yes, they were.
Wonderful.
I remember that period because I had been doing the show for, 18 months or something. 5 nights a week, and I really was close to some kind of breakdown, I think. And I went to Colin Bednall, the late Colin Bednall, and said, look, Mr. Bednall, I really don't feel terribly well. And so successful was the program that I think he thought, well, we'd better do something, and sent me away on a ship to America. It was my first trip overseas, and I came back all relaxed and happy with a very short haircut, I remember, and continued with the show, but did the 10 weeks.
Graham, it must be planned for you to always be part of clandestine meetings, because you had that one with Hap to get him to 3UZ, and you had one with me at your mum's place to get me to Channel 9.
That's right, I remember. Bert was doing well on the Late Show. Do you realise, of course, the original name for IMT was going to be the Late Show, but Channel 7 pulled a Swifty on us, started their 5-night-a-week program on a Friday. Whoever heard of that? Stole our band. We would have had Lou DePunnett. So Norm had to run down to the Chevron, I think it was, and pinch Lee Gallagher, and with Lee we got Val Ruff. So we started we had to change the title of the program. Suddenly it had to be IMT, because Noel Ferrier was doing the Late Show. Then Bert took over the Late Show, and we thought, hello, this is serious. And I watched a lot. It was my idea that we should get Bert to Channel 9. So it wasn't unusual for us in those days to have a drink after the show, or in your case, have a cup of coffee and a click of the fingers. So I rang Bert and said, come home, we'll have a drink at home. And poor Bert walked in, and there was Colin Bednall, Norman Spencer, and myself, and I think he knew something was up, but we got him.
The embarrassing thing, of course, was that, in those days, as in these days, I fancy a glass of amber fluid. And when Graham and I have gotten together in previous times, after a show, if IMT came down, say, at 11 o'clock, 11:15, it would mean that Graham wouldn't be home until at least midnight, if not later.
That's right.
So this particular night, I thought, I've got to meet Graham at his place. I've got time to go to the Musos. So I went to the Musos and met somebody there who's having a birthday. If you know the Musos, you don't need to meet anyone who's having a birthday. Got quite a few charges into me. And went down by taxi and thought, it's not going to matter because Graham will feel like a drink and no one's nose will know. And opened the thing and there's Colin Bednall and Norman Spencer. And I've got... Bednall, how do you do? And sobered up in 10 seconds flat. Thank you, Steph, for $7. Keep those donations coming.
Memories of a program called Ha Ha with Ha.
Yes.
That's right.
We've played a couple of times the famous breakup. There are many breakups, but the famous one with Clive, Nicky and yourself. Hap, your memories of those years back here at 3UZ, you skated over the fact that it was quite a job to replace Nicky. It really must have been you must have had to do a lot of soul searching before you said yes to that job.
Well, I did, Bert, because in all the things that I've done, I've been very, very lucky to have had Reet behind me. And Reet's the one who I've had to sort of ask questions of and everything else, because as you know, we live down here in Melbourne and our families were all up in Sydney. So we haven't any relatives around here or peoples, but we have many friends, which is lovely. But someone close, so I had to ask Reet things, and we talked about it, and I said, well, what do you think? I said, I've never worked with Graham before, and I thought I've never done a two-way switch. I've never done this. I've always been on my own. I thought, how can I fit in? So she said, well, I think you have a try. And I said, all right, I will. And that was it. So I did. So anyhow, I'm very pleased I did, because it was lovely and everything's worked for me.
Happy was the first person I ever heard, the first announcer on air that used to interrupt the commercial or talk with them. You know, in a Ford Pill ad, he'd jump in and have a chat to them and sing along with the records. I remember that most clearly. It was a great breakfast program.
That was 3GL Geelong.
It
That's when I started there in 1940.
That was your first radio
That
station?
was the first radio station, 3GL. I was down there for about 2.5 years, and when I first went down to Geelong with Reet, they said, "Oh, you know, it's dead down there. It's a terrible place." And I thought to myself, well, we went down there and we had the 2.5 happiest years of our lives. So it's never a place, it's how you fit to it.
Yep.
That's all it is.
It's your own attitude, isn't
That's
it?
right, it was wonderful. Oh,
Happy, you going to do a song for us?
A song?
What about doing Happy Days of Hearing? Anything at all. Ray knows them all. And do a bit of finger clicking for us.
We want a bit of a click.
Listen, Ray, what about the one of Bye Bye Blues, you know, with the stop? Oh, listen to
Yes.
this. This is very clever.
Yeah, you can use the stand microphone. Happy, it'll be easier for your fingers.
I'll just do a little...
I'll
Okay.
go and give it a bit of a tune too.
Here we go. Yep. Lovely.
Come on, Brad, help me.
Radio as it used to be. Betty. Is it Betty we've got?
Hello, Bert.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name?
Betty?
Oh, it is Betty.
Yes.
Who would you like to say hello to?
Oh, just all of you, no one in particular, just to say what a beautiful show it's been and to bring back all the memories of years gone by, you know.
Oh, good. Just hang on. We've only got 2 pairs of cans here, so I'll give a pair to Hap so he can say hello and Graham can use the other. So you lose me as of now.
All right.
Hello, Betty. It's Graham here.
Hello, Graham. How are you?
I'm fine.
Oh, this is a great thrill for me.
Is it really?
Yes, very nice to talk to you.
I hope you'll pop along to the Russell Cinemas and see The Odd Angry Shot.
I'd love to, yes. I've seen the previews of it on the telly.
Good.
Yes.
Here's Happy.
Thank you.
Hello, Betty. How are you, dear?
Well, thanks. Hap, how are you?
I'm all right. Really terrific. Now, tell me this. Where do you live?
In Northcote.
In Northcote. Oh, no. Hi, Joe, I lived in Northcote for about, 1.5 years in Johnson Street.
Oh, did you?
Yes, lived there. It was wonderful.
That's not far away from me.
It isn't.
Betty, did you go along to the Plaza Theatre Northcote?
I certainly did.
We all worked there.
Yes, I'm not telling you how long ago, though.
Very nice to talk to you, Betty.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. On Channel 9. But, you know, what you haven't said this morning, Graham, is how you really feel about me.
Oh, Bert, it's so difficult. I mean, how does one guy say to another, things you'd tell your girl or your mother? Well, I can say it brother to brother, I love you. That's how I feel, honest. I feel it too.
Honest?
Each word is true.
Honest?
What would I do without you?
Without me, Graham?
Herbie, without you, I'm nothing. Without you, I'm nowhere. Without you, my life is stormy. And old pal, I've got no doubt. Without you here fighting for me, they're gonna count me out. Oh, without you, all my kicks are gone.
Say, without you, man, I can't go on.
The moon won't shine
And the day won't dawn.
without who?
Without you, I'm zero.
Without you, I'm minus.
Without you, there is no tomorrow.
Without you, cruel world, goodbye.
I've got bitter tears and sorrow.
I think I'm gonna cry.
Say, without you, lover, I'm the least.
Hey, without you, beauty, I'm the beast.
I'm dead.
He's gone.
I'm gone.
Deceased. Without who?
Without you,
Without you.
without you,
Without you.
without you,
Without you.
without you. Well, see, a long, long time, eh?
That was true.
It'll be a long, long time before we do it again, too. I'll tell you that.
Very good.
I know that was great.
Usually reserved for telephone.
What we should do, what we should have done then, we should have had Happy finger kicking.
I was going to
Finger flicking.
Finger kicking.
I could have tapped.
And Paddy could have tapped.
Oh, no, on second thought.
I'd like to see you tapping at the moment, Mac.
Won't be tapping.
We've got a babe due almost any time, Hap.
Any day
I
now.
know. And little Matthew, he's well.
He's fine, yes.
Thank you.
I'm not saying it because you're here, but I really wish that for Matthew, that there was the entertainment back on television for kids that people like yourself and King Corky and Joffa Boy and Patty and Susan.
And Norman Swain.
Provided, Norman Swain provided in those years.
But
That's right.
I think the worst thing for Matthew is that he'll never know anything else. I mean, television will have always been there all his
That's
life.
right.
He'll never have the thrill of seeing it happen.
That's
The
right.
thing is now, too, most children get up in the morning